the line, is there?
No.
No.
Good evening and welcome to the Norwalk Board of Education Facilities Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. The time is 6:04 p.m. I am joined here with Board Member Colin Hostin, as well as members of the Norwalk Public School Facilities Committee. Thank you everybody for joining us this evening. We will jump right in here. The first matter of order is the approval of our minutes from last month's meeting on September 25th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I will make that motion.
Great, thank you, Colin. Minutes are approved. Then moving on to public comments, we did receive one message into our public comments around facilities. Those will be submitted into the record for this evening's meeting. And I don't believe that we have anybody from the public on the line right now with us for public comment on our meeting topics. So with that, we will move into the project updates. We have two project updates, Norwalk High School P-TECH and the Sono School.
Okay,
I'm sorry, Jim. May I just make a comment? I think the last meeting was September 5th. Not the 25th, just for the record.
Oh, you're right. Thank you, Bill. Yep,
Okay.
I see that. And the meeting minutes do say September 5th. That was me thinking October 25th. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Jim, do you want to jump into the updates?
Sure. We had our weekly meeting today and got an update on the drawings and the bid documents. We're expected to get the final set of bid documents within about 3 to 4 weeks, and then we'll be advertising. I'd say it's mid-November to go out to bid for all the trade packages. So pretty exciting. We're getting ready to go out to bid on Norwalk High School. So hopefully we'll start seeing some activity in regards to the construction process for Norwalk High School. Long-awaited activity, I'm sure. So, not a lot to report. Other than we're preparing the drawings and waiting to go out to bid on Norwalk High School. Also, one other thing is during our review of the state review of the drawings, it was noted that we have the field house. We tonight are presenting an amendment to the educational specifications to include the field house, of which the square footage would have been included in the main building, but due to the location of the field and for sports such as soccer, field hockey, lacrosse, football, and track and field, we created the field house for lockers and facilities closer to the field for the students, so they don't have to walk. I think it's 1,200 feet back to the main building. So we're going to ask for the committee's approval for that this evening, and then move forward to the full board, and then we'll send it off to the state, have it as an amendment to the educational specifications. In terms of Sono, we are doing the final construction estimate for that. We are expected to go to the state in mid-December for what they call the plan completion review. So pretty exciting. We're kind of almost in parallel efforts with both Norwalk High School and the new Sono Elementary School for going out to bid and starting construction. We expect to get the bids for Norwalk High School prior to receiving the bids for Sono. And it's done somewhat purposely that way. So that way, some of the contractors, if they're not successful on Norwalk High School, will hopefully go after Sono School and be a little bit more competitive. So it was to some degree purposely done that way to stagger the bidding on both of those projects. So that's my update. If you have any questions, please ask, and hopefully I'll be able to answer them for you.
Sandra, are we going into any further presentations around Norwalk High P-TECH? Or are we just
No.
keeping it very high level this evening?
Yeah, it was really the whole purpose of the update was to tell you that we are going to make an amendment to the educational specifications.
Right.
That being because the field house, which was previously not going to be part of the ed specs, now are going to be included. So that was really the reason for the update. And then the update for Sono was around the bidding. So there is nothing new to share around the designs or the documents that we didn't share during the September meeting.
Okay,
Correct.
right. And I know that there was a meeting that included the city at the end of September that I was not able to join. Diana Carpio attended in my absence, and she did give me some updates, and there were some items that had been flagged as falling outside of the $239 million state approved budget. So I just want to make sure that I'm aligned with what the expectation is around that, because my understanding is there's approximately $5 million of non-reimbursable scope in excess of the state approved budget that we're intending to cover with city funds. Is that correct?
That's a potentially, yes. We have roughly $6.5 million left over from a old high school project that we stopped doing when the new high school project came about. We do have, things such as, for instance, the field house, the concession building, the turf itself, the field lighting is non-reimbursable or limited reimbursable from the state. As a result, we're looking at the possibility of holding those off and having the city pay for those items directly. Because it's almost like a double, you're getting penalized twice if you keep them in the project budget, because you're not getting your reimbursement, but you're also getting essentially less money as a result of that. So if it uses up $5 million, that's $5 million that we can't get reimbursed for. So if we keep it outside of the project, we get that if it's the full 239 million, we get that full 239 reimbursed, and we can we can pay for that $5 million with the 6.5 that was already allocated by the city for the original renovation project.
So the correction would be that when we had that meeting with various stakeholder groups, the field house was part of those of that list of things that fell outside. And so then the update that we brought you today is that the field house will be submitted with the rest of the project, because the field house has been now approved to actually get reimbursement on.
Got it. Okay.
And so then
this
some
is-
of the things that still fall outside, just to be
Right.
clear,
Right.
are concession stands, the turf, the signage, those other items that we had previously shared still fall outside because they're not able to be reimbursed by the state.
Okay.
Correct.
But this is a savings for us ultimately, assuming that the state accepts our proposal to have the field house included within the reimbursable amount.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay, so this is a positive.
Yes.
But we still do need to make sure that these other aspects for the athletic, fields are
Absolutely.
fully covered, because we can't operate those fields without lights and without turf and the other items that, were on that list. So we'll need to ensure that that is being covered by the city, because I don't believe it's anywhere in our budget.
No,
Well said.
No.
So
Colin,
to
did
that point,
you-
Kara, I'm glad
Yeah.
to hear that if there was a previous project that we did not go to see to completion because of this new school,
Right.
then we will be able to use some of that already allocated funds without allocating new funds, which, you know, I think it's always a happy solution. So
Right.
And do we know when we think we'll hear back from the state on the field house?
No.
Well, on the
I don't.
entire project, because now
Right,
it's been
well-
included into
Okay.
the entire application. Mhm.
That's correct. And so, yeah, I mean, in terms of hearing back from the field house, from the state specifically on the field house, I'm not sure. You know, it'll be us. You know, the state is a little slow in responding. Actually, we just got an email right before the meeting started that they finally put the high school within their payment system. So now we can start going down payments on it after
Okay.
Nina, you know, pulling her hair out, so to speak, just trying very hard to get them to do that. It's a slow process, unfortunately, but thankfully, you know, we have Nina, people like Mike Fienza and Dan kind of constantly emailing the state. I think they get tired of hearing from us, so they just answer us, or they just do what they have to do to get, you know, so they don't see another email from us.
Squeaky wheel.
Yes. Any other questions regarding Sono or even Norick High P-TECH?
Are we still targeting, is it early January to break ground at Testa Field?
It'll probably be no, it would probably be late January. That's
Late
where,
January.
yeah, it was late January, early February for
Okay.
breaking ground. Yep.
Got it. Okay, thank you. No, I didn't have anything else, Colin.
no, I mean, I think the staggered schedule for bids makes sense, so that, you know, we do have a chance to get more refined bids for the Sono school, and looking forward to seeing how those come in. I
Very
assume
good.
everything's still on schedule there, so.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted.
Mhm.
So it was a small update for those two projects.
Sure. Great. Well, thank you very much for those updates.
Do we need to make a motion to about the field house?
I think at
Oh,
the
yeah.
end, we have all of them all together, so you could either do it now or but we have a series of actions that we would like you to move on. So you could either do it now, Kara, it's up to you, or you could do it at the end.
I mean, Colin, we can move on the modifications to the Norick High P-TECH reimbursable right now, and then there's an HVAC update which applies to the other, I think it's 6 things that we need to approve. So sure, let's move on Norick High P-TECH. Do we have a motion to move this to the board?
I'll make that motion.
Great, I will also make that motion, so we'll move that onto the board.
Thank you.
All right, so I see that the next topic was the HVAC grant update, and then there are, I think it's 5 or 6 different items here that we need to move forward to the board.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Joanne is going to turn this over to Joanne, and I think Bill will tag team also.
Yeah. I think we had originally met when we brought on CES for the engineering part of this, but the state has put out again a grant program for HVAC reimbursement. As it was before, there wasn't an opportunity to do this for all schools. So basically we, and Bill and George made an assessment throughout all of the schools on priority as well as what is needed, both for cooling and heating. So we did have engineers work through that and give us recommendations, and we did receive pricing for each of those. And the state reimburses 60% of the cost of the project. And there's a quite extensive process to submit for this grant. And we have started the process, and this is another step. So we have already spoken to, the mayor and the CFO to work out the funding parts of it. And Bill has put together the ed specs for the 6 schools that are targeted. And that is what you are going to speak about at the end. So basically, after this meeting, it will then go to the full board, and in the meantime, also go to the land use and the BET because of the funding, and we'll do special appropriation meetings to work that out. So the 6 schools, to reiterate, are Brian McMahon. And if you have specific questions, I know Bill's there waiting to help me out there and all the specifics, but it's Brian McMahon, Brookside, Marvin, Silvermine, Rowayton, and Merrimack. And so our strategy is that we are going to work out, at this point, we're still planning on submitting for all 6. It'll be 6 separate grants applications. And as far as their webinar that I sat in on, they did notify the public that there is going to be another round next year. They are trying to work through some of the problems they had with their system last year. And so hopefully have rectified all of those to make it a little bit easier of a process. So if we don't get funding for all of them, we could always have the information and we'll just do it again for next year. And hoping that we can do that and get the majority of them done. These are items that we are going to have to do anyway. So we're trying to take advantage of as much state funding as we can. So,
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Joanne.
No, go ahead,
If I can add, the selection of upgrades include anything from the very central large chiller plant at Brian McMahon to upgrading electrical equipment that supplies the school, to central air schools that currently do not have it, such as Rowayton and Merrimack. And it also includes replacement of existing units that are beyond their useful life, what we call rooftop units at Marvin and also at Brookside. The estimates we got from preliminary discussions with conceptual design is to the tune of almost $30 million. As Joanne mentioned, we would be reimbursed 60% of that, so the outlay from the city would be about 14 million. So this is a very large scope of work. We narrowed it down to 6 schools. These 6 schools are part of the tiering system. These schools will not be touched for quite some time. That's why they became a priority to address these conditions sooner than later. I don't think we can go much longer at Brookside without replacing those rooftop units, as well as at Marvin. If we don't supply air conditioning to Merrimack and Rowayton in the next couple of years, I think that would work against us too. So that's why these 6 schools were selected. And unfortunately, each school is presented as a separate project. That's why there are 6 approvals here. They could turn around and approve all 6 of them, which is what we hope. Well, they can approve 5 of them, but the ed specs has to be written specific to each school because there are specific projects.
You, Bill? Any
Thank you for explaining that. When I originally saw it, I thought it was one grant that we were applying for, and these were the 6 schools that had been determined to be the ones that were most in need. Were we asked to submit, when we submitted these 6, our order of priority? And I know that would be a really hard thing to do because all of these buildings need upgrades.
Right.
But if asked, do we have a prioritization?
I have asked that question.
We do.
And haven't
Yeah, it's like
received a
Sophie's choice, right?
response. Yeah, haven't received a response. The deadline, I was told that we would get the answers to everyone's questions that was on the webinar. They'd be on the website at some point. But the deadline to submit all of these is December 31st. So we're just at this point, we're gonna apply for all of them. That's what we've been advised to do. And like I said, if there's some that we don't get, we can always look at doing it again next year.
Mhm.
And we don't know what their order of priority
No.
might be.
Yeah,
Part of the application process is we have to provide a professional cost estimate, and each school has different amounts. Do they take the highest and eliminate that? We don't know. Do they take the lowest and only prove that? We don't know that either. We only wish we had more information.
Right.
But they're not forthcoming with all that information just yet.
and if you were to choose us, I mean, if we were to choose, we would choose the most expensive projects, right? Because we would
Right.
want the
Right.
reimbursement. So, what may be a priority to a certain school community for us, what makes sense fiscally
Mhm.
is to actually go with the most expensive project. But I don't yet know if they're gonna have us rank the projects or anything like that.
Okay. And do we know, are there 6 grants available?
Oh, yes, there is.
Like a maximum of 6?
Yeah, you can apply for any or none. There is a
That's the
pool of
max.
money that
Okay,
a lot of it didn't get used last year, so they're putting it into this year's funding. So it's more than they had last year. So
so is it like one big pot of state funding that they have? And
Yes.
we said, these are the 6 schools that we have that we would like to
Right.
apply for. So,
yes,
so were there any, so obviously some schools are not being submitted for the grant funding. And is there like rationale for those? Do we have any plans for
I
those,
mean,
or
a
are they
lot of,
okay?
well, a lot of those schools have the window units. I know that that's not ideal, but these schools are, like Brookside, for instance, does have air conditioning, but it's very, and so does Marvin, but those units are, like Bill said, they're at the end of their life.
Right.
And then we're going to end up finding ourselves in a very expensive project. So it was tough for us to choose which 6, but we did take into account which projects also would cost the most to the city.
Right.
So that
right.
we could take advantage of the reimbursement rate. Bill, do you wanna elaborate on that?
Yes, it's my understanding, the state has allocated 239 million across the entire state.
Mhm.
So how much of that does Stanford get versus Norwalk versus Bridgeport? We don't know. But certainly, if we're putting in for $30 million, that's a tall ask. And these projects all add up to that, again, with our share of 60 or 40% of that. But nonetheless, it's work that's badly needed, and I'm sure every district will say the same.
Mhm.
That's why I think they're opening up another round next year. In case we do get turned down, we can go and present again.
Got it. So we're really going for broke here
Yeah,
yes.
based on what the full, budget is at the state level.
true.
So,
Yes.
okay. All right. Well, thank you for all the work that was done to pull these applications together.
oh, there's still work
Thank
to
you.
come.
I
And
know.
there's
I
still
was gonna
works in
say, we'll keep
progress.
you Posted.
Yeah,
Just
until the end of
started.
the year, I'm sure there'll be active works in progress.
Yeah,
but
we'll
thank
keep you posted.
in advance. Hopefully your grant application magic will continue to work.
I hope so. Fingers
Yeah.
crossed. We've been on
Sprinkle some dust on
we've
them.
had,
before you
we've had
hit
a
send.
successful fall, so we're hoping for a successful
Yes.
winter with our grants.
Exactly. Fingers crossed. Colin, did you have anything?
Yeah, no, it sounds like a great opportunity. I'm crossing my fingers and toes. I really appreciate, kind of describing how we're shooting for the stars here and helping to contextualize how these projects were chosen, because I know some of those questions always come up like, why not me?
Absolutely.
and it is sometimes Sophie's choice, but it sounds like it's a very thoughtful approach. And yeah, I mean, work that magic. Let's keep it going.
So then with that, we do have some actions that we're requesting of you.
Yes, so I do see here on our agenda, review and possible action, we have 6 different grants here. Brian McMahon, Narragansett Silver Mine, Brookside, Rowayton, and Marvin. Do we have a motion to move these to the full board for a vote?
I make that motion for all of those projects.
Great, thank you. I second that, so we will move these forward to the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was the last item on our agenda. So motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a
you.
wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you both.
You
Okay.
have a great
All
night.
right.
Thank
Take care,
you, everybody.
everybody.
Thank you all.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.